Stardew Valley Expanded is Stardew Valley's most popular mod of all time with over 6.1 million total downloads. And not only is it Stardew Valley's most popular mod of all time, but it's also Stardew Valley's most popular expansion mod of all time too. And do you know what that means? Well, it means that it adds hundreds of new items, new places to explore, and even new NPCs to the game. And in spirit of the vanilla experience of Stardew Valley, some of these new NPCs also come with some new deep and dark secrets. So, without further ado, welcome to the dark side of Stardew Valley Expanded, Part 1. Before we properly start this video, I should probably just give a massive disclaimer that everything in this video is, well, not only a giant spoiler because I go into the deep dark depths of this mod, but everything that I say in this video only applies to the Stardew Valley Expanded mod, and none of the information disclosed in this video applies to the vanilla version of Stardew Valley, like the original Stardew Valley. None of it applies to that, okay? I thought I should probably just say this to avoid any confusion, but yeah, unless I specifically say that something is from the vanilla version of Stardew Valley, then it isn't. Anyway, let's begin with our first new villager, Sophia. Sophia is a villager that lives and works at the Blue Moon Vineyard, which, if you didn't know, is this place right here, which is located west of the beach, and also technically east of Cinderstep Forest. But yeah, anyway, Sophia is very shy and mostly keeps to herself. When she is not working in the vineyard, Sophia spends her time enjoying anime, manga, and cosplay. Sophia is also a bachelorette, I hope I said that properly, option in Stardew Valley Expanded. So yeah, that's some quick background info about Sophia. But the thing is, when you take a little bit of a closer look, you realize that this young woman is living all by herself on this massive plot of land, which contains a literal vineyard and a massive house. So what's up with that? Well, let's get into our heart events. Sophia's second heart cutscene starts off with Sophia and her best friend Scarlett standing next to each other, staring off into the distance. Scarlett then asks Sophia if she is okay, as she seems a bit out of it. Sophia, evidently not okay, apologizes and explains that she was trailing off in thought. Scarlett then says, "You said the doctor prescribed you new medicine. Is it helping with..." To which Sophia responds, yeah, it helps. You then start creeping up behind them for some reason, but neither of them realize this, so Scarlett says, "Hey, you'll get through this. I'll visit you 100 times if that's what it takes." And in a matter of seconds, Sophia's mood lifts and she states, "You always know how to cheer me up." But now that Sophia and Scarlett have just happened to disclose just enough information for the story to progress, they finally turn around and realize that you are listening in on their conversation. "Who's that guy?" Scarlett questions. "Oh, that's," insert player name here, "the new farmer I told you about." Scarlett then introduces herself to you by explaining that she's from Grambleton Town and met Sophia during a cosplay meetup. After a bit more chatter, Scarlett says goodbye and leaves the cutscene. But the cutscene doesn't end here just yet, because after Scarlett has left, Sophia asks if you overheard any of her conversation with Scarlett, which then leaves you with two dialogue options. "No, I heard nothing," and "something about medicine?" If you pick the first option, then Sophia will tell the player that if they heard anything, then they should just keep it to themselves, and Sophia will return to her house. But if you pick the "something about medicine" option, then Sophia will break down into tears and will run away from you. So yeah, that's what we call W-Riz. Why did I say I'm gonna kill myself? Okay, so what can we take away from this cutscene? Well, so far, some kind of traumatic event has happened to Sophia. Sophia has also been prescribed, presumably, some sort of antidepressant for this event, and also Scarlett is a very supporting friend that lives far away. Okay, you got all that in your brain? Good. Now, let's move on to Sophia's 4-heart event. Wait, I meant to say 4th heart event. I'm dumb. This cutscene begins with you walking into town when all of a sudden Sophia walks out of the doctor's and bumps into you, which surprises her a little, and after a little bit of dialogue, you are given two options to respond with. "Hey, how are you doing?" and "Tell me where you were in the hospital." Now, as you can probably tell, what dialogue option you pick here will drastically alter the event. Because if you pick the "tell me where you were in the hospital" option, then Sophia will once again run away crying. But if you choose the "hey, how are you doing?" aka the normal person with a normal sense of social awareness option, then well, she will start crying while trying to hold a normal conversation. So the game will tell you that you need to do something and gives you two dialogue options. "Want to pet Dusty with me?" or Are you hungry? We can get food at the saloon. Now, regardless of what you pick, Sophia will enjoy the rest of her day and will thank you for cheering her up. But something I just wanted to point out is that if you take Sophia out to lunch, like that option, then after the two of you order food, Gus will whisper to you, "Food is on the house, farmer." Which is like, bro, this is where Gus is the best. The last cutscene was there to show us how Sophia has been really struggling with some sort of problem and as a result has been using prescription medication. But this new cutscene puts us on the urge of telling us what Sophia has actually been struggling with this entire time. As the hot event starts off with Sophia standing over a grave and crying in the rain. It then transitions over to you and Sophia bumping into each other out the front of Ken and Jodie's house. Sophia then says hi while crying, and so you step aside to stop and talk to Sophia. But she just keeps walking. The screen then goes black again and resumes with this monologue. Sophia was crying. I should check on her. Which transitions to the next scene, which starts off with you walking into Sophia's house. And after you do that, you see her crying in her room. So you walk up to the door and you are greeted with two options. Knock on the door and open the door. Now, no matter what option you pick, Sophia will tell you that now is not the time and that you should leave. So being the reasonable player that you are, you leave. But on the way out of her house, Sophia comes running out of her room and says, "Wait," and asks why you are here. Which after you tell her, she responds with, you were worried about me? And then she proceeds to break down into more tears. After wiping away her tears, she says, Look, you don't need to worry. This is just something I live with. It used to be worse before I started taking medication." And after some more held back crying, Sophia tells the character that she is sorry that you had to see her like this, which then leaves you with two dialogue options. I understand. This is difficult. I'm here for you. And you'll get over it soon. Which, bro, if you've gotten this far into the situation already and you've already found her crying in the rain, chased after her as you're worried about her health, and then you pick this second option, you're just a dumbass, okay? But yeah, if you pick the second option, the cutscene just ends. But if you pick the first option, then Sophia will tell you that something that really helps with her problem is spending time with people. She then invites you to watch anime with her. Now, again, if you pick this second option, I don't know what happens, you're on your own, you really deserve that for being a dumbass, but yeah, after the two of you watch anime together, Sophia feels a lot better and the cutscene ends. So yeah, you can kind of tell that after all of this build up, the next cutscene will finally be the big reveal about Sophia's past that we've all been waiting for. Also, if you thought that this cutscene was long, then oh boy, you're not even ready for the next cutscene yet. The unedited version of the next cutscene is so long that, well, it actually has been divided into two parts. Sophia's 7-heart cutscene starts off with you entering the cellar as she tends to one of the kegs. After informing you on the status of the kegs, she then tells you that the kegs were made by her mum and dad. Which, if you've been watching Sophia's story by now, then, chances are you would have realized that her parents are a very touchy subject. Which is why she then next says, "Oh, it's okay, please don't feel bad. Let's head upstairs. I want to tell you a bit about my parents." So the two of you head upstairs and the cutscene resumes outside of Sophia's room. This was the room you found me in last time. It's my parents' room. Come inside. After following Sophia into her room, she tells you, "I never finished packing and moving their belongings. I guess a part of me thought they'd be gone, really gone if I did. My mum and dad, there was a car crash. It was the 4th of Fall. They were on a business trip. They were gone all day and wouldn't answer their phone. It was weird. That evening, there were knocks on the front door. I was greeted by May Lewis and Gus, with tears in their eyes. They told me my mum and dad." Sophia then breaks down a little bit more, and after a bit of reassurance says, "Thanks, I'm okay. You and Scarlett have helped me so much through this. I'm really happy I have friends like you guys. I knew it would make my parents proud if I took over the vineyard in their stead. It's a lot of work, but it's all I have left of them." Now, at this point you have two dialogue options. You're doing a great job managing the vineyard, and I want to do everything I can do to help you. Regardless of what option you pick, Sophia is grateful for you and Scarlett and also asks you to help her start packing her parents' belongings tomorrow, which is where the second part of the 7-heart cutscene begins. This cutscene starts off with Sophia standing in the something room of her house, but yeah, she greets you warmly when you enter. She then tells you that she's already started with the boxes in the foyer and that she was really excited after the player left yesterday. Sophia then says, "Well, let's head upstairs and get started," to which the screen fades black and the game gives you this monologue. "Sophia and I cleaned and organized her parents' room. It took many hours of work. The cutscene then fades back in with the two of you standing in Sophia's parents' room, which is now clean. I think that's everything, Sophia says. Thanks for helping me. I can't begin to tell you just how much this means to me. Hey, I'm going to send you something really special in the mail tomorrow. Now, Sophia, I really hope that that special thing you're sending me in the mail tomorrow is not going to be a pipe bomb. Thanks so much again. Sophia then jumps up in happiness while exclaiming, yay! And for some reason you just start doing this really goofy laugh. But yeah, that marks the end of this cutscene. Now, fortunately for Sophia, this cutscene marks a turning point in her life as her next two cutscenes showcase her new love for life. So yeah, I personally think that Sophia is a really well written character. She shows that using medication to deal with your mental issues will not quite solve them, and that the only way to solve them is to tackle them head on with the loving support from, well, not family in her case, but friends. Now, just before we move on to the next segment, look, I've been neglecting my channel for 4 months. I know, it's not looking good. Please just subscribe and help me out here. I promise I'll make some more videos, okay? Deal? Done? Okay, good. Now that you've subscribed, we can finally move on to the next NPC segment. Olivia lives in this extravagant looking house next to Pierre's store with her son, Victor. Now, remember Victor because he is actually has a segment on later on this video, but yeah. Anyway, their family is wealthy as they used to live in Zuzu City, but the reason why they don't live in Zuzu City anymore is because Olivia moved to Pelican Town to retire. Olivia used to be an accounting manager at Joja and made a load of money via the stock market. Nowadays though, she spends her days dining on exquisite food, sipping her expensive wine, walking around Pelican Town, visiting the saloon, and judging other people. Also, due to her age and location, she's also good friends with Caroline, Pierre, and Jody. But wait a minute, where is Victor's father? Or even the rest of the family for that matter? Did Olivia and Victor come to Pelican Town just for her to retire, or did they move to escape something much worse? Well, let's get into it. Yes, by the way, this is not an error. We are actually starting with Olivia's 6 heart event, because from now on, we will not need to go through every single heart event of any character for the rest of the video. Anyway, Olivia's 6 heart cutscene starts off with you walking into her cellar as she is listening to the radio. Olivia, evidently startled by your entry, rushes over to turn off the radio before she greets you. After telling you that she was just listening to a famous Gatoran violinist named Haru Kyoko? Man, what the fuck do I keep getting these bullshit ass names? How the fuck am I supposed to know how to pronounce it? Anyway, she then tells you that she misses listening to them perform live, as there's a magic to live music that recordings don't capture. She then tells you about the time she saw Kyoko perform live. But then, the conversation takes a dark turn. When the war started, radio broadcasts from Gotoro were blocked in the Fangirl Republic. By the way, the Gotoro Empire and Fangirl Republic are actually a part of the normal Stardew Valley, and they are both actually at war in the vanilla version of Stardew Valley 2. So yeah, if you didn't know that, then now you do. Anyway, the cutscene continues with the internal monologue of, I hope nothing terrible happened to her, and gives you these 2 dialogue options to respond with. I'm positive that the person's name that I don't know how to pronounce is doing fine, and I can't in good conscience say she's doing well. Dude, what is wrong with it, bro? Whoever made this definitely wanted there to be a clear right and wrong answer in these dialogues, bro. Anyway, if you pick the second dialogue option, then I guess you don't say anything. But yeah, if you pick the first dialogue option, then Olivia will say, I'm hopeful she'll overcome this. She then also goes on to drop this important piece of lore. My family is from the Gotoro Empire. My mother and father immigrated to the Fangirl Republic. I have family and friends there, trapped and unable to leave. I worry for their safety. I don't know if they're okay or not. It's impossible to call or write to any of them. I've heard rumors of what's happening. I don't want to believe any of it. Olivia then says that she needs a glass of wine, and so the two of you share a glass of ring fruit wine that she admits to buying from the traveling merchant who sells smuggled goods. However, Olivia tells you that she has somewhat of a guilty conscience for buying such items. I purchased a rare Gatoran china dish from her a few weeks ago. It's a particularly... Man, what the fuck is it with the author and these characters and placing words that I don't know how to pronounce in their dialect? I put it on display in the kitchen cabinet upstairs. I wonder, where did that set come from? What family sold it off piece by piece so that they could afford to eat? At this point in the cutscene, there is an awkward silence, and so the game prompts you with the choice of one of these 2 questions. I'm glad that she helps you to stay connected with your home, and what's happening is terrible. If you pick this option, then I don't know what happens, but if you pick the I'm glad she helps you stay connected with your home option, then Olivia will tell you that the traveling merchant sometimes gives her insider information, and how that information is sometimes different from the information that the news presents. She then asks you how the wine is, and then says, it's rare and expensive, but having nice things doesn't matter if you can't share them with those that you care for. She then says that the conversation has given her some grim reminders and asks to be alone. So yeah, there was a lot that happened in that cutscene, but all you really need to remember is that Olivia currently has family staying in a war-torn country, and she is constantly worrying for their safety as she has no way of knowing how they are. I also thought the part about the news telling different information to that of her inside informer was interesting, as misinformation and propaganda on both sides of a war are very common activities. In fact, they're not even very common, they are actually both necessities for a war. Just as Olivia promised, her 8 cutscene is a much happier one, as it revolves around everyone in the town having fun at the saloon. But at the end of the cutscene, Olivia tells the player, "I want to tell you about some of my family residing in the Gotoro Empire, dear." To which the cutscene fades out, which leads us into Olivia's second 8-heart cutscene. Now, I just want to clarify that the first 8-heart cutscene is not actually a prerequisite to this cutscene, but I just thought I'd show you it for context of this cutscene. Anyway, the real way to trigger this cutscene is to get 8 hearts with Olivia and then give her a bouquet. Once you've done this, you'll get a letter from her that reads something along the lines of, "Yeah, I got mixed feelings about this shit, so I'm coming to my house and let's talk about it." Once you arrive at her house, you walk up to her bedroom door and Olivia greets you. "Oh, farmer, I trust you received my letter in the mail. Please come in." To which the cutscene fades to black and resumes with Olivia and you standing in the middle of her room. "Sorry if my letter caused any concern or worry. I needed to speak to you in private." Olivia then finally reveals what the letter was all about. "I haven't dated anyone in years, not since my husband Edward. Olivia then starts to break down before continuing. "He passed away some time ago. I feel guilty, like I'm betraying him. I don't know if I can be with you, farmer." To which the game gives you 2 dialogue options. Now, listen up closely, because what option you pick will drastically alter your playthrough of Stardew Valley Expanded. Well, that is if you're interested in marrying Olivia. Because if you pick, "You need to follow your heart," then Olivia will say, "You're right. I need to follow my heart and trust my feelings. Edward, truthfully, he would want me to be happy, and I'm happy with you. I know deep down he wouldn't want me to suffer like this. It is time that I let myself feel again. I'm glad it's with someone as charming as you, farmer." Olivia then says that she wants to show you a new piece of art that she's working on, and the cutscene just fades to black. So yeah, if you pick this option, then you are now 1 heart event away from bagging her. However, if you pick, "You're right, we should call this off," then you will lose 750 friendship points, which is equivalent to 3 hearts, and Olivia will slowly agree to end the relationship before the 2 of you get too invested. If you speak to Olivia after this cutscene, then Olivia will give you a wilted bouquet to put an end to the relationship. Because in Stardew Valley, gifting someone a wilted bouquet will immediately end your romantic relationship with that person. So yeah, this is the deciding factor between you either bagging Olivia or committing the biggest fumble of the century. Guys, this video took so long to make that I kind of got sick while making it, so yeah, my voice might be a bit congested right now, but just ignore that. Anyway, as you already know, Victor lives with his mother, Olivia, who both moved to Pelican Town after Olivia retired from working for Joja Corp. Victor has recently graduated top of his class from a prestigious university with a bachelor's in engineering. He isn't sure what he wants to do with his life, but he wants to find a role that makes him happy, not rich. He spends most of his days in the museum, the park, gazing out at the ocean, playing arcade games, and reading books. Now, I just want to spoil something real quick. Basically, Victor does actually know what he wants to do, because in Victor's 3rd heart cutscene, he reveals to you that he really loves bridges. Yeah, you heard me right, bridges. Now, you're probably thinking bridges? Really? Bridges of all things? Well, yeah, considering that he's really smart and he seems to have a very oddly specific interest in bridges, yeah, he's probably autistic. But yeah, jokes aside, let's get started with this heart events. Yes, you read that right. We are starting off with Olivia's 2nd heart event. Now, why are we doing this? Well, it's because this cutscene is actually integral to Victor's story. Anyway, this cutscene starts off with Olivia talking to Victor. "Honey, I don't understand why this process is everlasting." "I'm trying, mother," Victor responds. "There aren't many jobs this far away from the city." "Do you think you'll move back to Zuzu City?" Olivia asks. "No, I have no intention of moving back. I want to stay here in Stardew Valley." "Well, you'd better start applying yourself more to finding a job nearby then, Victor." Luckily for Victor though, you suddenly barge into their home, and Victor, evidently hurt by what Olivia has said to him, says that he is going outside to get some fresh air. Once Victor is outside, Olivia apologizes to you for losing her composure and tells you about how Victor gets defensive whenever she brings up his career. She then continues to tell you about how smart Victor is and how she's confused that despite this, Victor still hasn't found a job yet. Olivia then expresses her concern that Victor may have gotten too comfortable in her household, and the cutscene ends. So yes, despite Victor being insanely smart, he is still yet to find a job and satisfy his mother. So what's the real reason for Victor's current unemployment? Well, let's find out. Victor's 6-heart cutscene begins with you walking through town and noticing Victor standing by a pond. Intrigued by this, you walk over to him. Victor then notices you and turns to talk to you. Hi, farmer. Oh, what am I doing? Well, just thinking at the moment. I have a lot on my mind. My mother told me she's disappointed that I haven't found a job yet. I came to the park to get out of my house for a while. Now, despite this area barely being a park, Victor continues talking about his maternal woes. I can't blame her for feeling that way. I graduated from university a year ago and I'm still living at home. Maybe she just thinks I'm lazy and comfortable living at home forever because we're financially secure. But that's not the case at all. Over the last year, I've turned down dozens of internships and job offers. None of them appealed to me. I don't want to move out the valley and work myself to death in a city. I want a career where I'm free to be who I am, not who I'm told to become. Victor then pauses for a second before continuing. You understand what I'm saying, farmer. You quit your office job because that wasn't true to who you were. You took a leap of faith and took over your grandpa's farm. Just look at how you transformed your life. In a way, I envy you. The game then prompts you with these two dialogue options. Working at Jojo was the worst, and you should move back to the city and get a job. Now, after everything that Victor just said to you, if you pick this dumbass option, then you understandably lose some friendship points with Victor. But if you pick the first option, then Victor goes on to talk about how awful that environment is, and that even though his mother doesn't understand his aspirations, he is still hopeful that he will be able to find a job that respects his values. The cutscene then quickly ends afterwards. So yeah, in Victor's own words, over the last year, I've turned down dozens of internships and job offers. None of them appealed to me. Now, I wonder how Olivia would feel if she found out about this. She would be really mad, wouldn't she? This cutscene starts off with Olivia walking into Victor's room. After remarking about how dusty his room is, Olivia gets to work dusting. But a couple seconds later, Olivia finds Victor's diary on the floor, which, after reading, drives her absolutely berserk. Olivia then storms out of Victor's room over to Victor, who is currently in the lounge room. "Victor!" Olivia shouts. What? Victor responds. "You've been turning down job offers?" Now, after you sneakily creep up closer to the conversation, Victor tries to save face by saying, "I've been doing nothing of the sort. The job market," but Olivia immediately cuts him off. "No, stop. Do not lie to me again, Victor. I read your diary." "You were snooping around my room?" Victor exclaims. "I was dusting the house and I thought I'd check your room for once. It's always a dusty wreck. My father is coming soon and I wanted the house to be perfect for his arrival. I found a note that says you've been turning down internships and job offers. This is why you haven't found a job after graduating? Why, Victor? What is the point of this charade? Don't you ever want to have a successful career?" But Victor doesn't respond, which makes Olivia even more mad. "Answer me," Olivia shouts. "I didn't know what I wanted to do." That's all you have to say for yourself? After all the money I spent sending you to Pelkar University? Victor, I'm buying you a 1-bedroom apartment for you in Zuzu City. I'll give you some starting money and then I'm cutting you off. You're moving out, Victor, now. Maybe being back in the city without my bank account to rely on will inspire you to start living your life." "Mom, no, please let me just explain. I have a reason." But Olivia once again cuts off Victor. "There is nothing to explain, Victor. This is for your own good." You then for some reason just come running into the conversation, which of course surprises Victor and Olivia. "Farmer? You were eavesdropping on our conversation?" The game then gives you this one dialogue option. "I came by to read some of Victor's books and I heard the two of you arguing." Victor then uses this distraction to beg his mother to actually listen to it. "Let me talk so you can understand my side of the story. At least give me that." Looking defeated, Olivia reluctantly accepts. The game then gives you two options. Don't say anything and listen to your mother and move to the city. If you pick the first dialogue option, then Victor will say that he enjoyed what he studied in uni and the reason why he's been turning down job offers is because he wants to build and maintain bridges for a living. Victor then tells his mother that he's been working closely with the mayor of Grampleton Town and their bridge engineer Ralph, who has retired recently. Victor then goes on to tell his mother that he wanted to keep it a surprise until it was official, just in case the job opportunity fell through. Victor also clarifies the notes in his diary. Those notes in my diary are very old, from a time I was feeling frustrated and lacking direction. Now, I know what I want to do with my life. Delighted by this news, Olivia congratulates Victor for his potential future job prospects, but also apologizes to him for intruding on his personal space. The two of them then share some nice words and the cutscene fades out. So yeah, this option is the good wholesome ending. But if you pick the listen to your mum and move to the city option, then you will lose a total of 5 hearts with Victor, and feeling betrayed, he will tell the farmer to go away. Which, like, yeah, that's fair enough. If you ever go through this cutscene for yourself, then please don't pick this option. But yeah, in the end, Victor fights through the pressure of being kicked out of home by his mother and finds a way to work his dream job for a living. Truly an inspirational story about not conforming to the normalcy of society. Now, just before we move on to the next segment, I just wanted to say that in Victor's 4th heart event, he reveals that one of the headstones in the graveyard is dedicated to his cat, Dewey. No way, is that like a Shawnee Doo reference? Now, like, yeah, sure, that's sad and all, but let's be honest, that doesn't really deserve a whole segment. So I thought I'd just quickly mention that here, because like, it is still kind of sad though. Andy is the owner of Fairhaven Farm in Cindersap Forest. He doesn't get along well with his neighbors or Mayor Lewis. He has never been married and has mostly lived a lonely life. He strictly supports Jojo, buying all his seeds, supplies and food from their store. He is good friends with Morris and George, and his hobbies include foraging in the forest, drinking alcohol, farming, and reading passages in his religious text about Yoba. But why does Andy live so far away from everyone else, and why is his farm so small? Is it just because he doesn't get along with his neighbors, or is there some other deep-rooted issue that we don't know about yet? Well, let's get into it. The cutscene starts off with you walking into town and overhearing Lewis and Andy's argument. Andy, as I said before, you can't just ignore... No, you listen to me. What in tarnation is that supposed to mean? Don't come telling me I owe more. I'm doing just fine with Fairhaven Farm. Don't you go telling me this bad news. Lewis tries to calm Andy down by telling him that this new tax law is not the fault of him, but instead the fault of the Ferngul Republic. But all this does is rile up Andy even more. I'm not hearing any of this. This will ruin me, you hear? Now, Andy shouting at Mayor Lewis in the middle of the town obviously catches the attention of everyone else in the cutscene. Andy then continues his rampage on Mayor Lewis. I thought this valley supported local farmers. Lewis once again tries to calm down Andy by telling him that the mayor of Grampleton isn't happy with this either. But once again, all this does is make Andy even more mad. No! The answer is no, Lewis. I can barely afford my seeds for new harvests. I can't afford this at all. Lewis once again tries to comfort Andy by telling him that he will help out with his financial problems. But clearly Mayor Lewis hasn't learnt yet that nothing that he can say or do will calm down Andy. I don't need no one's help. I don't accept handouts. I'll figure something out. Lewis tries to keep the conversation going, but Andy just shouts, "This conversation is over," and storms over to where you are standing. Andy then lifts down his cap in defeat, says nothing, and storms off. The cutscene then fades to black and resumes with Mayor Lewis talking to you. Hello, farmer. You heard all of that, didn't you? The Ferngul Republic government is introducing new regulations. I don't think they understand the negative impact it's having on small communities like this one. I've tried negotiating, but they won't listen to me. I'm aware Andy is struggling and he isn't doing well financially. Rest assured, farmer. Kendra and I are drafting an elaborate proposal. Lewis then asks you a question. Can you do me a favor and check on Andy? If you agree to check on Andy, then he will approve of Lewis drafting a new proposal before telling the farmer to leave and then ignoring them. However, if you tell Lewis that you are concerned Andy will take out his anger on you as well, then Lewis will understand. But why is Andy so aggressive towards Mayor Lewis despite him not being at fault for these new regulations? Is it just because Andy's livelihood is at stake here, or is there something else we don't know yet? This cutscene starts off with you watching Andy leave Farhaven Farm from afar. Damn, that alliteration's tripping me up, bro. You then notice that he's heading down to the woods, so you follow after him. Once you catch up to Andy, you find him standing in front of the Aurora Vineyard. So you walk up to him and stop just a meter or so behind him. Without turning around, Andy notices your presence and starts talking to you. Jerry and Elizabeth used to live here. This was their vineyard. They were good friends of mine. Andy then turns around to face you and continues speaking. Remember the Great Recession? You still had that there office job of yours. Hold up, I think that's a typo in the mod or something, because that sentence does not make sense. I'm guessing it was supposed to be, you still had that office job of yours. But yeah, anyway, Andy then lifts down his cap again and continues speaking. That nosedive in the market had devastating effects on the demand for crops, especially artisan goods. Jerry and Elizabeth held out as long as they could, but eventually gave up. Andy then turns around again and starts cursing Yoba in spite. Jerry, you Yoba darn fool. I told them not to spend all their money on that project of theirs, or else they'd... Andy once again turns around and continues to speak. I was on the verge of bankruptcy myself. Luckily, I knew where to look for good forage. That forage saved me. Yoba was looking after me. Same thing happened to Alexa, that little farmhouse south of Fairhaven Farm. Now some freakish cretin of a mouse lives in there, selling hats. I think that their wizard, another typo, has something to do with it. I'm always seeing flashing lights coming from his tower. Andy then tells you that he needs some time of his own to ponder by himself and tells you to leave. To which the cutscene ends. So yeah, not only is Andy struggling financially, but his close friends in the past have also done so too, with his friends being even worse off than him. And with poverty being such a long-running issue in Andy's life, it explains why he gets so aggressive towards Mayor Lewis when he tells Andy about the new regulations. Now sure, obviously in a perfect world, Andy shouldn't take out his anger on Mayor Lewis, especially because he's not at fault for the new regulations and everything, but yeah, this cutscene may not excuse his actions, but it sure does explain them. Also, throughout Andy's next two cutscenes, Andy admits that at first he was jealous of the farmer as they got a new plot of land for free. However, the farmer has been doing so well that the new attraction to the valley has made Andy's produce sell more, and now he's happy. Andy's 10 heart cutscene also ends pretty wholesomely, but yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Now, just before we get into the last NPC for this part of the video, I just wanted to give a special thanks to these two channels, as I've used footage from these videos to provide you guys with the cutscenes of Sophia, Olivia, and Victor. And considering how long some of these cutscenes are, you guys have saved me a lot of time. So thank you. Also, I tried gathering footage for the Scarlett cutscenes that I'm about to show you, but it just wouldn't work. Like, for some reason, I just couldn't get her cutscenes to trigger. And at first, I couldn't find any videos on the topic either. However, luckily for me though, Turin, however you pronounce his name, actually streamed all of Scarlett's heart events a while ago when they came out. So yeah, thank you Turin for that. I know you watched some of my videos, so I'm sure you'll see this eventually, but yeah. Anyway, let's get into Scarlett. Okay, we're not going to go over this cutscene, but basically, for context purposes, all you really need to know about this cutscene is that Scarlett is making some stuff in her dad's garage. She is also using her dad's workbench and tools and all that stuff. Okay, so you got that down? Good. Now we can move on. This cutscene starts off with Trayvon, Scarlett's stepdad, walking into her room. Sweetie, do you have a moment? Yeah, what's up? Scarlett says. I was in the garage and I saw your project. It's turning out nicely. You think so? I'm really proud of it. I've never worked with leather before. But what Trayvon says next devastates Scarlett. Also, I noticed you didn't put my workbench tools back again. Oh, sorry. I'll remember next time, Scarlett says. Looking down, Trayvon then continues. I have to stress that if you want to continue using my things, you need to be respectful. Okay, I got it, Scarlett replies angrily. Hey now, don't give me attitude. Hank and I like keeping things tidy. Now, your room can be as messy as you want, but that stays in here. I'll try harder, okay? What else do you want me to say? Scarlett, show me you're willing to learn. Actions speak louder than words. I know these things can be difficult for you, but look, if you can't respect other people's things, how can I trust you'll be responsible with my truck? Now, this mortifies Scarlett. What? Are you being serious right now? You're horrible. Ugh, I'm going downstairs. I don't want to talk about this anymore. The cutscene then fades out as Scarlett runs out of the room and Trayvon chases after her. A couple minutes go by and then the cutscene fades back in with Scarlett angrily bursting through the front door. Scarlett then continues to shake in anger for a little bit before walking up to the bush that you are currently hiding behind. Farmer, you know I can totally see you, right? Now that Scarlett has found you, you reveal yourself and Scarlett asks you a question. Be honest, were you eavesdropping on me? Now, you have the option to admit that you were and apologize, but you also have the option to lie. Regardless of what option you pick though, Scarlett goes on to talk about what just happened between her and her stepdad. I must have seemed like a real jerk in there, huh? You should know something about me. Look, I have ADHD. I got diagnosed with it a couple years ago. Who knew? It makes it really hard for me to focus on things and listen to people. So like, it's not that I purposely refuse to clean up after myself, it's just something that doesn't register with me. And I can get a little defensive. I struggled a lot in high school because of my condition, and that's why I know I'd just flunk out of college if I tried, despite what my papa says. I know he means well and I love him for that, but I need to trust myself. Besides, I'm more of a hands-on kind of person anyway, and that helps me. After a little pause, Scarlett goes on to talk about what's actually been bothering her. I really want to go on a road trip with my papa's truck, but now I feel like I've taken several steps back. Scarlett then says that she could really use a walk right now, and the cutscene fades out as the two of you walk away. Now, as someone with ADHD, I find this cutscene pretty relatable. I'm always doing 4 different things that are in 4 different locations, and I'm always rotating between them, and then at the same time I forget about the other 3 that I am not doing at the current moment, and then I just lose a bunch of shit in places don't even know how it ends up there. But yeah, it's all pretty relatable. I forget so much stuff. Like, I swear I do not have a short-term memory. However, here's the thing. I just want to explain something real quick with ADHD. Basically, when you're diagnosed kind of like, okay, let's just say, for example, there's this spectrum, I guess you can say a line, right? And now there's lots of different things with ADHD that it's kind of confusing, but we're just going to exclude everything else. Right now, we're looking at hyperactivity and inattentiveness. Now, at one end, you have hyperactivity, which like hyperactive, this is like the stereotypical like kid won't sit still in classroom, kid never sits still, he's always moving around, he's always being disrupted, he's always talking, he's always this, he's always that, he's always loud, he's always blah, we need to give him some Adderall to calm him down. That's the hyperactivity, right? Now, inattentiveness, this is the whole like forgetting things, like the whole not knowing where things are, constantly forgetting about things you're doing and all that kind of stuff. Now, hyperactivity is pretty apparent. Like, you can shove a hyperactive child, like ADHD hyperactive, in front of someone and they'll be able to recognize it. However, inattentiveness isn't talked about as much, which I appreciate this cutscene talking about it. However, because of this, it's also not as noticeable. Like, this cutscene to someone that doesn't understand ADHD will look like a whole lot of nothing. It will look like a whole lot of nothing, and Scarlett is just an arsehole, right? So I feel like this is directed towards Flash Shifter, the person who made the mod. I feel like you could have maybe, like, just constructive feedback, maybe you could have gone a bit harder on like the whole forgetting things, the whole inattentiveness, maybe I don't know, somehow made the example more apparent. And also, you could have definitely put more emphasis on the explanation. Like, you could have like done the whole, because of ADHD, my brain doesn't work the same as yours. You don't have to go through the exact science. You don't have to be like, well, because I'm ADHD, my dopamine levels are lower than an average person, which means that I do this and this instead of this, and I'm always looking for. No, you don't have to go through all the science about it. You could just, emphasize that her brain, Scarlett's brain, is way different to a normal person, aka Trayvon's, and because her brain operates way differently, she accidentally does different stuff, like the whole forgetting of things. Now, again, yeah, I don't know how you would go about that, however you want it. You can do that however you want to, but yeah, that as someone with ADHD, that's just my little passionate side rant about what could maybe improved by the cutscene, but it doesn't really matter because the cutscene's pretty good and it gets its general point across anyway. Also something that I forgot to mention is that the whole Scarlett getting really angry and defensive thing could also be another effect of ADHD, as ADHD often affects people's capability to effectively regulate their emotions. For example, sudden outbursts in anger. So yeah, sorry for that rant, but so far we have gone over all the dark details about the new NPCs that Stardew Valley Expanded adds to the game. However, Stardew Valley Expanded also adds new details to the vanilla characters too, with a fair few of these new details being rather dark. And because this video is already pretty long, I've decided that I will go over the changes to the vanilla characters in the Dark Side of Stardew Valley Expanded Part 2. So until then, comment down below if you're excited for Part 2 and watch the video on screen right now.